What's going on, guys? It's Josh with Weekend Wonders, and today we're removing the rear sway bar. Last week I posted up this photo on the forum, and a fellow Subaru enthusiast asked me why don't I just go ahead and remove the rear sway bar so I can get more articulation out of my wheels. I asked him a few questions about handling differences. He said the handling difference is minimal if you're just removing the rear sway bar. He's actually removed both, but he has the King springs. We still have the OEM springs, so I'm not going to touch the front sway bar. I'm not comfortable with that. But I am going to go ahead and see what it's like to remove the rear sway bar, see how the handling is, see the difference in articulation. And so I'm going to show you guys all that today. It's very minimal work to remove it, so I'm going to take you step by step how I remove it, and yeah, we're going to get that started up for you, so stay tuned. Alright, the first step to taking off the rear sway bar is you're going to want to either jack up the rear of your Subaru, or you're going to want to use some ramps like we used here. It gives you a lot more workspace. You're not having to crawl under as much, and you're able to actually get up under and reach all the components very easily. All right, once you look under your Forester, you're gonna see this long metal bar that goes behind the exhaust and connects each side. That's gonna be your rear sway bar. In order to take this off, you're going to have to remove this bolt bilaterally and then remove this bracket from these two bolts. So we'll start with that. To remove the sway bar from the lower control arm, you need a 14mm socket. In order to remove the upper brackets that hold the sway bar in place, you'll need a 12mm socket. Alright, to get the rubber bushing out, now that the bolt is all the way through or removed, you can take one of the bolts, put it here against the bushing, take a hammer and just hammer it loose. That way you can pull it through. And now our sway bar is fully disconnected. All we have to do is finagle it out the side. Okay, and there you have it. The rear sway bar is removed. Now we can take this beast out and see the difference in how much flex we get in the rear suspension when the front end is being flexed. Alright guys, I put a couple miles on the Subaru to kind of get a feel for the removal of the sway bar, and honestly, if I didn't know that I just removed it, I wouldn't be able to tell. I don't feel any extra body roll than I did before. It takes turns and corners really well. Here we can, if you're overcorrecting your steering wheel, it restabilizes and gets centered again just as it did before. So in terms of handling, I'm pretty satisfied. I don't feel like it's something that is going to be overly detrimental to daily driving to remove your sway bar. We're going to go over here to the car wash where I took that photo, and I'm going to flex out the suspension, and we're going to see the difference in articulation in the rear suspension now that the sway bar is gone. All right guys, I'm out here at the car wash. That's where I initially took that flex photo, so I just came back here for reference. As you can see on the driver's side, our rear wheel is very tucked, but it's still not impacting the fender well. I can take my fingers and run them all the way around the wheel, but it's very nicely tucked in there. In terms of the passenger side, our rear wheel is up off the ground. We're pretty far up the ramp, a lot farther than we were able to get before. The initial measurements on the rear before the sway bar was removed, the clearance between the fender well and the tire was a little over 7 inches. I just measured it, it's a little over 8 inches. So you roughly gain about 1 inch of travel in your rear suspension by removing your sway bar. For some of you that may not be beneficial, but if you are on the trails a lot, 1 inch is a lot when it comes to clearance and flex in your suspension. All right guys, that sums up our removal of the rear sway bar. If you're interested in doing it, I hope that made it easy. Just to recap, the removal is super simple. It took maybe 5 minutes. In terms of handling, I don't feel any major difference in the rear sway bar being removed compared to it being on. Obviously there is a handling difference, or they wouldn't install it from the shop, but I personally don't have an issue with it being gone and had no issues with handling. And of course, when it comes to flex and articulation in the suspension, you're gaining an extra inch in articulation, which I think would help you out definitely on the trail. So again, hope this tutorial made it easy for you guys. Y'all take it easy. I got another video coming. Gonna be doing a retrofit on the tail lights. It'll kind of segue into the headlights since I wasn't able to do that video for you guys, but the process is still the same. So I'll do that for you, and then hopefully if you decide to do your headlights, you can just follow the same process. But you guys take it easy. Have a happy Sunday. Take care.